Hey, business building warrior. Thanks for joining me today on Silent Sales Machine Radio. I'll be your host all day today. There's no guest. There's no guest hosts. It's just you and me hanging out for a little while. We don't do this very often around here. We used to do it quite a bit, but now we've got great substitute hosts. We've got so many great success stories to share with you. Quite often the show turns into something far more than I could have ever dreamed. I learn something every episode around here, but today it's just me and you, the business building warrior that makes this show possible. So thanks so much for hanging out with me today. I truly do appreciate it. And as you probably saw on the topic, this is going to be a show about who shouldn't be considering starting a business on Amazon the way that we teach around here. I'm not so bold as to think that the things we teach apply to absolutely everyone, but I can tell you this. If you're considering an e-commerce business and you think that Amazon doesn't make sense for you, I might be able to convince you that you should reconsider. So I'll state that same thing a slightly different way. If you're looking at a bunch of different business ideas on the internet and nothing's really working yet, maybe you've written off Amazon as just another thing that doesn't really make a lot of sense for you. I'm going to talk through today some of the common misconceptions that we hear that just may convince you that it's worth giving this thing a shot. And we are seeing so much great success among our student base right now, those who are understanding the platform, applying the strategies that we teach around here. You've heard hundreds of episodes on this podcast where we've interviewed successful students. Well, maybe you haven't heard those yet. Scroll back in time. You'll see them. Dozens of very recent episodes, hundreds of total episodes as we're into, 600 plus episodes of this show. Most of them are interviews with the successful students who are applying the strategies that we teach around here in our proven Amazon course. So let me take a quick sip of water, grab my notes. Let's jump into the content. So there's several reasons that people often give when they say, I'm not interested in starting a business on Amazon. I've heard this, I've heard that. It costs too much. It's too saturated. It's, all those excuses that we hear. But you've got to do something with the fact that in our free Facebook group, for example, 72,000 member free Facebook group, people from all over the world using the strategies that we teach, you're going to see any given day a handful of people posting their success stories and showing off the new results that they're getting and how excited they are about the momentum they're having. And the guests on this podcast, again, so many of them. So if you've written it off, you've got to come to terms with the fact that there's a lot of people out there who are doing really, really well here. Are they just lucky somehow? No, they're not. They're following a system. They understand that on Amazon any given day, there is a whole lot of unserved need that's just not met. There's a lot of underserved shelf space at Amazon. Our whole replens system that you hear us talk about so much around here is simply defined as serving the underserved shelf space at Amazon.com, meaning there's more people buying that product than there are enough sellers to keep up with the demand on that particular product. Now, there may be enough sellers there where there's adequate inventory, but they're making so much profit selling on that ASIN that you could slide in next to them and be making a profit as well. That's the replens game. You're a reseller. You're finding the underserved shelf space at Amazon and you're filling with common, everyday, easily sourced, full retail in most cases. You're not waiting on sales. You're just bringing stuff from somewhere where it's of low perceived or actual value to a place of higher perceived or actual value. And in this case, on Amazon, any given day, I estimate that hundreds of thousands of ASINs go from being well-served to being underserved. That's every single day. Hundreds of thousands of ASINs go from being very well served, where there's not much room for anyone to squeeze in, to being underserved, where practically any of us could easily squeeze in alongside whatever other sellers. Maybe it's just 2 or 3 sellers. Maybe it's a couple dozen sellers on a really fast moving product. But nonetheless, we could slide in at a price that's profitable for us, a sell price, and do really well. So what are some of the excuses that we hear from people who have written off Amazon? Perhaps one of the most common things we hear is people who have tried to launch a private label product, meaning they tried to launch their own name brand. They came in cold, not knowing a whole lot about the platform. They bought a very expensive course, probably watched a bunch of YouTube videos, got convinced that that was the way to go. Buy a $5,000 to $8,000 course, spend $20,000 to $30,000 on inventory, wait 6 to 9 months to launch your product, spend hundreds of dollars a month or more on pay-per-click advertising, all to find out that about 95% of the people who start there end up with a garage full of inventory that they can't sell. We don't do that here. I laugh because it's such a common story. You've heard on this show alone, of the hundreds of episodes we've done, you've heard dozens of episodes of people with that exact story where everything I just described happened to them. And we often call ourselves a burn unit for people who've been burned by the Amazon opportunity. Don't start there. If you're thinking that's the only way to make money on Amazon, you're wrong. There's hundreds and hundreds of people in our community alone. I would say actually more like thousands who are doing really, really well with the replens model. Now, another excuse we'll hear, maybe the other side of the spectrum is, well, I don't want to go to stores. I don't want to pull stuff off shelves. I don't want to have to shop for hours and look for deals. That's just not me. I'm not very passionate about that sort of thing. I don't see myself doing it. I want something more interesting. Few things. One, this is a very profitable business that you scale into very slowly, very low risk, and you can be seeing great results within a very short period of time. And the best part is you can start turning over every piece of this business to someone else. No part of it is so complex that it has to be you. No part of it is so random that it has to be you. Now, if you're going from yard sale to yard sale looking for great deals, that kind of needs to be you, because if you teach someone else those skills, they're just going to go do it themselves and go from yard sale to yard sale and flip great ideas on eBay or wherever, right? That's not something you can scale with a team. However, replens can be scaled with a team because it can be very neatly segmented into specific tasks. You got your person who just goes store to store, or maybe your person who shops online only. You got your person who's finding new ASINs constantly, who's managing your inventory and your account health. Each of those little pieces can be done initially by you. You need to learn the system, but then it can be outsourced maybe to a virtual assistant who lives in the Philippines. We have plenty of people in our community, for example, who never see or touch their inventory. They just monitor their numbers. And a team of workers in a foreign country, 12-hour different time zone, is managing their entire business for them. That's a reality for many people in our community. They don't start there, but you can build into it. So if your excuse is, I don't want to go to stores, I don't want to prep boxes, I don't want to put tape on things, I don't want to have to worry about labels and UPS and all that. Hey, you don't have to be the one that does it. We've even got a network of a whole bunch, dozens and dozens of prep centers around the world. A free resource you can go see at prepcenternetwork.com. These are people who will receive your inventory on your behalf. They'll get it ready for Amazon. They're the ones touching the boxes and the tape and the bubble wrap and all of that. They're the ones doing all that. You just have to find profitable ASINs to list against. You could even have someone else that you train to do that on your behalf. So every aspect of this can be completely automated. So even if you're not passionate about it, this is a very profitable business model that will free you up, give you extra time in your day, extra time in your week that you can do those other things that maybe you're more passionate about or interested in. It's a low-hanging fruit business opportunity. I've been in e-commerce for 20 years as the only income for my family. We've relied on e-commerce income streams exclusively for our family of 7. We homeschooled. My wife was able to stay home, be the best teacher the kids ever could have had, thanks to e-commerce. And in all the dozens of business models that I've seen over the 20 years that I've been growing multiple income streams, I've never seen anything that I can as confidently refer people into as Amazon replens, which is why this community pioneered the concept, and we still teach it every day to new students. Anyone who comes to us and says, hey, I'm ready to work, I'm willing to do what it takes, I want to learn the systems, and I want to build something that can be eventually automated and run by others and just be a nice income stream for me. What do you got? This is what we've got. Now, if you're saying that doesn't sound like me, I just don't know, selling random things to strangers, I don't know about that. Well, it's a foundational business model. What that means is once you know the basics, you can easily start stepping into some of the other business models. We call this the pyramid of opportunity. And as you climb these stairs, you get into slightly more expensive, slightly more complex, sometimes slightly riskier concepts. So we don't start you there. Like I talked about earlier, private label sellers, people trying to launch their own brand on Amazon, has about a 95% failure rate for new sellers. Now, for experienced sellers, your odds are a little better. You know a little bit more about what it takes to launch a product online. You've had some success. You've made some money online before. You've launched a product successfully. Yeah, the odds are tilted in your favor somewhat at that point. You're still going to have to take some pretty significant risks, however. So we love to start you off with the basics, but these are the necessary basics: learning replens, getting into the proven Amazon course, and stepping through the basic model before you go on to the more advanced models. That's the path that we recommend. And the good news is the proven Amazon course, our flagship course, the best selling Amazon seller training in the world to our knowledge. It's certainly been around the longest. It's been updated more than any other. It's got the biggest team supporting it. It has more new content added to it every month than any other course out there. It's like a library of Amazon opportunities. That's the course that will grow with you as you grow your way up the pyramid. We've got something for everyone, but we don't like to start you off at the high risk, most complex models because your odds of success are slim if you're coming in cold. So if any of the other models haven't worked well for you before, or maybe you've just spent your time scanning barcodes in a clearance aisle and thinking, hey, this is just too tedious. Yeah, I'm making a few dollars here, but it's tedious. I agree it's tedious. We don't start you there. If that's not a scalable business model, Replens is. It can be completely automated. It's not a treasure hunt. It's not an Easter egg hunt. It is a scalable, proven business model used by hundreds of people that you can come meet right in our community. And it doesn't matter where you live in the world, you can do this business. We have students all over the world, all over the planet, setting up entities in the United States, buying and selling inventory online in the United States, using a prep center from the Prep Center Network. That's a free resource. I mentioned earlier, prepcenternetwork.com, a free resource. You can have your inventory shipped there. They'll manage it for you, send it in for you. You get paid. So where you live doesn't matter. All that matters is, are you ready to start learning the basic skills needed to do this business? It takes work, it takes blood, it takes tears, it takes sweat, it takes sacrifice. Everybody has a slightly different experience getting started. One of the things we're very excited about around here to help you get started is a one-time fee class that we offer. It's a $40 class. It's only $40. That's it. It should be 10 or 15 times that minimum. But you get to sit down in a Zoom class with a group of other new proven Amazon course students and go through the initial startup steps of getting your business rolling. We call it the Kickstart program. You can contact our support team. Go to silentjimdotcom, click on the support link, send them a note and say, hey, Jim was talking about Kickstart. I'm interested. Can you help me out? They'll verify that you're a proven Amazon course student because that's a prerequisite, because you'll be going through the initial steps of that course as you go through the 4 sessions, the 4 group sessions with a coach. There, it's all recorded. If you miss one of the sessions, you can keep the recordings forever. It's a little Facebook group that's formed around your little mastermind group of new students. You'll be helping each other out, getting going, and you'll get that emotional morale boost that comes from doing it with a group, having a coach who's built a beautiful business. By the way, did you know that's true about all of our coaches? We have about 60 coaches for the Proven Amazon course team. 60. It's pretty incredible, right? What they all have in common is a teacher's heart, obviously. That's easy because a lot of successful people have a teacher's heart. But more specifically, they have built a beautiful business using the strategies found in the Proven Amazon course. That's what qualifies them to be a coach. So one of those coaches who's built a great business based on the very models you're trying to launch, that's who's going to lead you through the Kickstart program for $40. That's how confident we are that you're going to see the possibilities of what you can build with these systems. And you're going to be off to the races in another success story, maybe even appear as one of the guests on this podcast and share your story and motivate many others to get started. So what else is on my list of things that keep people from jumping into Amazon? One of them that I like to tackle is people say, oh, it's saturated. You know, it's been around a while. It was good a few years ago. Now it's saturated. Can I let you in on a secret? I've been hearing that for 20 years. No exaggeration. When eBay was starting to pick up, I was getting excited. Plenty of people saw what I was doing and said, oh, yeah, sounds like you got in early. It's saturated now. There's no opportunity there. 20 years. Here's the best statistics I can share with you that completely destroy the saturation argument. So if you're open to rational thought, please hang with me for a couple minutes as I destroy the saturation argument about Amazon and selling on Amazon. I already mentioned earlier that in my estimation, we could easily back this up just through pure observation of how many people are thriving and how many new people thrive. But any given day, hundreds of thousands of ASINs, that's individual listings on Amazon, go from being well served to being underserved. And we teach you how to find them. But more importantly, what are the big trends? And when I'm presenting this topic, I love to ask people this basic question. And sometimes I ask people to pause the audio, pause the training, and go write down a number on a piece of paper. What percentage of all retail economic activity in the United States is online? Write down a number if you'd like. We've got online, we've got offline. Online is hitting a website. Offline is getting in your car and going to a store. You understand the difference, right? So what percentage is online? What percentage is offline? Pause the video, pause this audio, go write down a number, and then let's start the play button again. So I'm assuming you wrote down your number. Here's the big number, the big scary number. People say saturation. You'd think maybe 70 or 80% of all economic activity, retail in the US is online. Is it 70%? Is it 80%, Jim? No, it's actually more like 15, 16% right now as we're recording this in spring of 2023. That's it. That's a government data number. You can go look it up yourself. That number was 5, 6, 7% just a few short years ago. During COVID, we took a big leap into the future, of course. But as of right now, we're still at 85% of all retail economic activity is traditional brick and mortar, hitting the store, getting in your car, shopping by driving around. That's crazy, isn't it? That number seems too small. 15, 16% is online. Well, that's it. That number will soon be 20, then 25, then 30. The numbers are going to be bigger. So in other words, we're going to at least double where we are right now before the game starts to slow down. That's a minimum. That's just set in stone. It's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years, at least double where we are right now. That's the trend. We'll get back to the show in just a second, but I've got to tell you about our latest sponsor who's making this show possible. I'm talking about StoreFund. Here's what they do. If you're an Amazon seller who's getting some momentum, but the money coming back to you from Amazon is coming in a little slow, well, you can get your hands on the money Amazon owes you today using StoreFund. Go check them out, silentjimdotcom/SF, as in StoreFund. Let's say you have a big $1,000 sales day. You're thinking to yourself, man, it'd be nice to get my hands on that money right now today. Well, for a small fee, about 2%, $20, you get the money Amazon owes you quickly. You can put it back to work right now instead of waiting for Amazon to pay you, in some cases, several weeks later. That's StoreFund, silentjim.com/SF, as in StoreFund. Hey, let's get back to the program. We're going to at least double where we are right now before the game starts to slow down. That's a minimum. That's just set in stone. It's going to happen in the next 5 to 10 years, at least double where we are right now. That's the trend. So to whatever degree you feel like it's saturated right now, the game's not even halfway over yet when it comes to e-commerce and how much it's going to penetrate. Then the game will always be changing in the future as well, of course. But those of us who know how to find and serve those underserved little niche markets have a tremendous advantage. And there's never been a better time than right now to get started. Saturation is not happening. Amazon is nearly half of all the transactions online every day in the United States. That's where we focus on Amazon. That's where all the customers are shopping. That's where all the action is. And it's growing like crazy. The number of people who rely on having stuff delivered to their front porch versus getting in their car, it's growing. Plenty of room for you to join in the numerous ways that you can jump into Amazon, and you can hang out in our community and see so many people who are using creative approaches. And it's not all about Amazon. Remember, this community, I haven't told you yet, but this podcast and the content we create, it's all committed to the concept of using the internet creatively to launch and grow multiple income streams. There's all kinds of creative ways. Those strategies fit into three categories. I'm not going to go into real deep what they are right now, but the most popular category, especially if you're new, is to sell physical product. That's where we love to start you out. You can definitely mature later and you can use all the different strategies, but the three are selling physical product, growing an audience of people who listen when you have something to say or share your content in some way. You've got an audience consuming your content. So you got physical products, you've got an audience that you can speak to. And the third way is consulting others on how to do those first two. Those are the three models. We love to start you off selling physical products, though, because we've seen so many lives changed over the 20 years that I've been training e-commerce. By the way, we've coached over 10, not over, approaching 10,000 students at this point over the past 19 to 20 years. Pretty incredible. We'd love to help you. If you want to contact our coaching team, by the way, just as a quick aside, silentjimdotcom has a link to our coaching program. So what are some of the other excuses we hear? Sometimes we hear people say, I'm too busy. I know I need more income. I'm just too busy, too much going on. Don't have the time. Well, I can't give you a whole lot of advice there because I don't know your time and your schedule, how much Netflix time you're spending, for example, or how disciplined you are with your day. But let's assume you really are kind of tapped out and you've got very little time. The nice thing about the Amazon replens business is you can squeeze it into the cracks of your life. And you can hear dozens of people talking about how busy single moms holding down a job, maybe in some cases a couple jobs, and they're still squeezing into the cracks of their life an hour or two here and there, a few hours every week, learning the system, starting to scale it. You can pick it up and set it down anytime you want to. Pick it up for 10 minutes, put it back down. Pick it up for an hour later, put it down. And each time you're building something that slowly gets momentum. And then eventually you have something that begins to replace those other parts of your income that you can step away from and then truly free yourself up from your job, perhaps, and get into something very real. We don't encourage people to make that leap early. We want you to have serious momentum before you make such decisions. Think it through. But that's very, very possible to squeeze it into the few minutes and the few hours a week that you do have. And again, listen to past podcast episodes right here on this channel. You'll hear hundreds of interviews with people who have accomplished the kind of things that we're talking about. This isn't theory. We've been doing this a very, very long time. We've helped a lot of people achieve exactly what I'm describing. So while you may be skeptical, saying, well, you got to jump in with both feet and commit 6 months to do anything. No, that's just not the case. There's plenty of people who have done far less time committed to their business. They've had far less time than you do, and they've built something beautiful with the time that they do have. Weekends, evenings, early mornings, so many interviews with guests who share those kinds of stories. So we've destroyed the I'm too busy. We've destroyed the, hey, it's too expensive. Let's destroy that one a little more. For a few dollars, getting started on Amazon, that's all you need. We have people come to us sometimes and say, I've got 25, 30,000 to throw at this, Jim. What would you advise? I'd say, keep it all in the bank. You're going to need a few $100s to test out some inventory. You need the proven Amazon course, costs a little over $1 a day. You need a couple tools, cost you a few dollars a month. Yeah. But we're still under $100 a month, well under $100 a month. And you've got everything you need, the training that you need to get going. Now, if you want to get ramped up faster, you can certainly get into coaching, but that's not for everyone. You may not have the funds that you can reasonably apply and invest in yourself right now to do that. So we've got the proven Amazon course that will step you through. So you're going to be sitting there learning by yourself some. Maybe you do the Kickstart program, like I mentioned earlier, to help you get through those first initial steps. Some people love to have a coach, a mentor guiding them through the process. You can go so much faster if you have a mentor or coach, but you don't need one. So for less than $100 a month, you're learning the skills, you're testing out very small, very slow, scaling, testing a few items at a time, learning some lessons as you go. You've sold 30 or 40 items and suddenly the whole landscape starts to open up and you start to understand the scope and the scale of this business, being very realistic about the challenges you're facing, but still building a phenomenal business. Again, just like you've heard so many other people talk about. It's not expensive. There's no way you're too busy. You're listening to this podcast right now. You can squeeze this business into your life. It's not saturated. And it's not overly complex. That's the next thing I want to take off the table. If you've got some excuses or you're thinking, man, no, Jim hasn't hit my excuse yet. This sounds really complicated. I looked at a Keepa chart once and it just really scared me. I can tell you this. Keepa, which is the basic tool of the model that we teach around here because it pulls Amazon data from Amazon.com in a way that no other tool does. By the way, go listen to podcast episode 369 if you've never heard me reference it before. That's where I talked through why Keepa is so special. And yeah, it's getting to be a slightly older episode at this point, but I could have recorded it as of spring 2023, and it would be just as relevant today as when I recorded it. So go check it out. It explains what Keepa is. But sometimes when people first see Keepa, they're very intimidated by it. Well, that's why we teach you the steps of what you need when you jump into Keepa, what you're looking for. There's only a few things you need to understand as a new seller. Now, over time, I can tell you this, the illustration I've been using lately is you could gather up the top 15 or 20 smartest users of Keepa from our community of 100,000 Amazon sellers and say, okay, tell me what percentage of the possibilities Keepa is capable of, what percentage do you feel like you understand and are applying in your business? And if they're honest, those 15 or 20 experts with highly successful businesses would say something like, well, I know about half maybe of what there is to know, but I'm still learning every day. That's pretty incredible, isn't it? So people who've been doing this business model for years using a power tool that we reference frequently are still learning new ways and new strategies on how they can apply that tool. So sometimes people come to me and say, how long will it take me to learn Keepa? Like, how long will it take you to be the best version of yourself? You'll always be learning more. You'll always be applying new strategies. You'll always find other tools that you can plug in alongside Keepa, things that speed up the process, new ways to scrape data and pull data in and expose data that you didn't know was there. It's a great peek under the curtain to some stuff that Amazon doesn't necessarily share with the rest of the world. And we talk about that a lot in podcast episode 369. Please go check it out. It'll be very eye-opening. But don't be intimidated by Keepa. None of this is complex. As a matter of fact, when I first started training other people how to build businesses and do e-commerce 20 years ago, because I was having a lot of success myself, a lot of friends and friends of friends were approaching me saying, hey, could you teach me? I started thinking to myself, I don't want to teach anything super complex. People have such a varied background of skill sets and time commitments and their ability to pick up on new technical things. And people have all kinds of different financial stability as well. So I made two promises, and I've mentioned these countless times over the past 20 years. The two promises are nothing we're going to teach you is going to be super expensive. That's one. And then two, it's not going to be technologically complex. That's two. And this isn't technologically complex. When you first look at it, it can be a little intimidating, but once you start to chip away at it, it really does make sense. We've got plenty of young kids in our community that can take a look at a Keepa chart and make a good decision on inventory. They've learned. They're not intimidated by it. So don't be. That first few hours that you're looking at some of this and it feels intimidating, yeah, there's a bit of a learning curve. We call that the period of intense focused effort. Everything worth doing in life will come with a period of intense focused effort. You're just going to have to kind of get through that. There's no bright, shiny website out there where you click a nice looking buy now button and pay a few $1,000s. In the next few days, you grow a beautiful business without any period of intense focused effort. It just doesn't exist. Best model that we found in the 20 years, we could teach you anything. We've got a large community that pays attention to what we teach around here. We could be teaching any business concept, but we pound away and pound away and pound away week after week, day after day after day on this one business model. Why? Because it works. We're seeing it work for the people who are willing to put in the time and effort. But it does require that period of intense focused effort where it can be a little intimidating, but it's not complex. That's the excuse I'm trying to take off of your desk right now. It's not complex at all. Once you understand the basics, it's just a matter of putting in the time and scaling. Well, maybe I didn't mention your specific excuse today, but let me just leave you with one last shot at destroying any potential excuses you do have for why you don't have a successful e-commerce business yet. And it's this. Listen to a good 20, 30, 50 podcast episodes of this show. Go to silentjimdotcom, start with the most recent episodes, scroll back in time. You're inevitably going to meet people who have less education than you, less financial resources, less time in their day. They are maybe less motivated. They were come across as maybe less intelligent, if we're being honest, right? Like, come on, they're not as smart as you, right? But they have something you don't have. They didn't have the family that you had, the disadvantages in the family. It was worse. You think you've got some strain in your family. Well, they've been through something that bad and worse recently. They've had some sicknesses that you've never had. They've got some physical challenges that you could never imagine. They have something you don't have, and that is they build a beautiful business using the strategies that we teach around here. So you've got to do something with that. You've either got to decide that, well, they just got lucky. Or you got to think, okay, maybe I'm not fully applying myself on doing what I could and should be doing to build a real business. And that's more likely the case, isn't it? It's not that just all those people got lucky and somehow you didn't. No, I think it has to do with they went through that period of intense focused effort and decided they were going to make this work, and they made it work. And you haven't yet. So that to me is the ultimate excuse killer, is to be surrounded with a bunch of people who are doing it. And you're left thinking to yourself, okay, they're doing it. I'm not. What's the difference? I'm going to figure out what it takes to make this work. That's why we love our free Facebook community. Right now is about 72.7 thousand people, something like that. And it's growing every day. It's completely free. You can step in there and you can look at the images that have been posted in the group, the pictures, and you can see people posting their success charts, hitting new numbers, their first $1,000 day, their first $50,000 month. And not everyone posts pictures when they succeed. So keep that in mind. We've got 1,700 posted success stories with accompanying pictures in our group. And not everyone posts pictures, obviously, every time they win or have a great day. That's a lot of people posting a lot of success in one Facebook group. Come hang out with them. That's going to start to destroy excuses. Hopefully you've got the character and the integrity that can handle that and see other people succeeding when you're not, and use that as a motivator instead of something that discourages you and sends you away with your tail between your legs. It just means you haven't put in the time yet. You haven't gone through that period of intense focused effort yet. You haven't focused in and really applied and tested. Because remember, it's not technically complex. There's some things to learn, sure. It's not expensive, costs a few dollars, sure. It's about testing and being committed to the process, continuing to send in inventory. Sometimes you lose a little, sometimes you break even, and a lot of times you make some money and you get better and better at the process. Before you know it, you've got a beautiful business that you've built. That's what we want to help you do. That's what we're here to help make happen. So hopefully you've enjoyed this episode. I've tried to challenge you a little bit. Maybe I pushed you a little bit. Maybe you're a little upset with me now, because that's not very fair, Jim, saying I'm just haven't been focused enough. I'm not accusing you of anything. This episode is going to be listened to by 100,000 people in the coming next couple months or so. I mean, I'm not talking to just you. But if I pushed you a little bit today, if I maybe made you a little uncomfortable with some of the challenges I had, hey, maybe it's doing its job. I'm just so bullish on this opportunity and the things that we teach around here. And again, this isn't just about the Amazon replens business. This is about you having the lifestyle and the income that supports you and your family the way you've always dreamed. That's what we want for you ultimately. And we see that happening in many creative ways. But the model that works the best, the soonest, for the lowest risk, with the lowest learning curve, with the lowest amount of risks inherent in the model, is the Amazon replens model. We'd love to prove it to you. So here's how you can do next steps. Here's what you should do. If I've got you convinced that this is worth trying. First, if you're brand new around here, maybe this is your first time hearing me present, go verify what I'm saying. Go check out 15, 20, 50 podcast episodes. Hear all the guests talking about their great businesses and how they used the proven Amazon course or our coaching to get there. We'd love to have you do that. You can get links to both our proven Amazon course, our coaching, and our free Facebook group at silentjimdotcom. It's all there. And please know this, we've got an upcoming conference. We'd love to have you as our guest. If money's tight and you just can't quite justify paying the admission fee for our conference, we've got a scholarship program. Go check out the event first. The website it's 3 words, The Proven Conference, theprovenconference.com. That's the website. And if you want to check out our scholarship program and attend possibly for no charge, just put a little /scholarship at the end, theprovenconference.com/scholarship. Someone will get back to you very quickly and let you know if you qualify. We've got some very generous sponsors this year who've made it possible for us to invite a good handful of people at no charge. We'd love to help you out with that if that's you or your family. So you can come see and experience what it's like to be in a room full of hundreds of people who are doing this business successfully. And they're there not as competitors, but as fellow business building warriors who are rooting for you, excited for you to succeed, and eager to learn from the things that you're learning on your journey. We all can learn from each other. I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been in e-commerce as the only income for my family for 20 years. And I have guests on this podcast who have only been in e-commerce in some cases for a few weeks. And they've got incredible things to share. And the momentum behind their story is beautiful. And I learn things from them without exception. I learn constantly. So that translated into a large community means the ones who are smart in our group are very eager to hang out with the ones who have just started their journey. They're still figuring things out. They're still asking those basic questions, but they have connections and observations and insights and experiences that the rest of us have never had. And we can learn from their techniques and their strategies and their stories and those connections even. Sometimes people come in with a whole industry connection that benefits our entire community. We'd love to see those kind of things happen. So our community's doors are wide open. We don't see you as a competitor. We see you as someone that we can't wait to learn from and to teach new things to. Give us a call if you'd like to talk to someone on the phone. You can call us anytime, or you can set up an appointment. That's our coaching program. The link is at silentjim.com, or the Proven Amazon course. That's where most people get started. ProvenAmazonCourse.com. Very inexpensive. We marked the price way down when COVID struck, and we've kept it low. So hopefully you can take advantage of that. It's a very inexpensive course compared to a lot of what else is out there, but it is by far the most robust course on the market from my vantage point. I know of nothing else that teaches all the various business models to any international student, no matter where you live, United States or anywhere else, and all the different business models for Amazon. But we've got a very set course that we'd like to take you on when you first get started. So if you got any questions, contact our support team. There's a link to that at silentjim.com as well. We'd love to serve you. Hopefully, I destroyed some of your excuses today, or maybe you decided that selling online and e-commerce just isn't for you. In either case, I hope you felt like you were served well today. It was a pleasure hanging out with you. Thanks to you for giving me some of your most valuable resource, and that is your time. I'm very appreciative of that. I know that there's a lot of other things you could have done with your time, but you spent time with me today. I'm very grateful for that. Thank you. Hey, I'd love to see you in July. Maybe go check out theprovenconference.com after this. See if you want to come join us. Go look at the 40 different breakout sessions we're going to have. Mind-blowing stuff. Can't wait to see you there if you can join us in Columbus, Ohio. Hey, let's wrap this one up. God bless you, business building warrior. We will have another great episode for you again very soon. We'll talk to you then. Hey, thanks for joining us today. One last shout out to the sponsor today that's doing some really cool things for sellers in the Amazon community. If you've had a big sales day recently and you're thinking to yourself, man, I would love to get the cash now instead of waiting on Amazon to pay me much later, well, that's where StoreFund can help. Go to silentjim.com/SF, as in StoreFund, silentjim.com/SF. So let's say you had a big $1,000 sales day. Wouldn't it be nice to pay a small 2% fee? So $1,000, 2%, $20. For $20, you can get all your money now that Amazon owes you. Pretty cool business model. They're helping a lot of sellers scale faster, keeping their money moving, keeping their inventory moving. That's silentjim.com/SF. Thank you, StoreFund, for being a great sponsor of this program. We'll have another great episode for you very soon.